You know what, honey?
What's that?
For once, I'm actually glad that Australia got left out of the loop.
What?
Mm-hmm.
How could that be a good thing?
Well, because Google Stadia flopped hard.
Oh.
Yeah, justice.
Savage, but true.
Mm-hmm. The Gaming Lovers Podcast with Brendo and Jem.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 84 of the Gaming Lovers Podcast. And unlike Google Stadia, this will not take up 20, 30, 40 gig of data every hour that you listen to us. Unless you have the raw WAV file. But that's getting far too technical. I am Brendo.
I'm Jem.
And we are the Gaming Lovers. Here at the end, we're closing in on the end of 2019. And it's time for us to take stock of our lives, what we have wasted our time on this year, what we have enjoyed, but most importantly, the projects we have left unfinished.
Yeah.
We're dealing with unfinished business in this episode. Mm-hmm. But before we get to that, everyone's favourite segment has to come first. There is an order, there is a method, there is a tactics that we follow here. And how could we continue our episode without first launching into a delightful, nostalgic episode? It's like the good old days.
I feel like you're stalling.
I don't know.
You're
know.
Dragging it out. Are you waiting for me to burst into song, or are you trying to figure out what melody you want to go for this week?
Oh, it's the creative juices just aren't there this week. Maybe I just need to go with the old reliable gaming goals.
Nice. It's a classic.
Goals. Key change. Gaming goals. Every good show tune needs a key change, right?
So long as it's in pitch. So this week, much Pokemon has been on the menu for us.
It sounds like you're eating them. Which
Do they actually eat them?
It is an issue in this season of Pokemon. This generation of Pokemon, there have been far too many references to people eating Pokemon parts, eating Pokemon byproducts, or eating Pokemon secretions.
Ew!
If you read Pokemon Pokedex entries, people are eating Pokemon. Because the first thing that raises questions in Pokemon Sword and Shield, there are sausages. There are no other wild animals in the world except for Pokemon.
Yeah.
So what are the sausages made of?
It's one of those things you don't really think about until someone asks that question.
We have a whipped cream Pokemon this generation that is just begging to be eaten. We already had ice cream, for goodness sake.
Yep.
Now we have a whipped cream that you evolve by actually spinning in the circle. It's kind of fun.
But there are berry-type Pokemon, but they're different to actual berries that are separate that aren't sentient. It's very strange.
There's also Slowpoke Tail, which can be
Oh.
served on your curry.
Oh, I don't know about that. That's weird because, look, I'm a carnivore, but Pokemon are a little different to regular wildlife in my mind because they have so much more personality and they're almost sentient. You know, they're not just intelligent life. They seem relatively self-aware, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like another level of wrong.
Okay, look, we have Moo Moo Milk from Miltanks.
See,
We
that's
have
okay.
Chansey Eggs, which can be
what?
served in curry.
Chansey? I'm sorry, that's just wrong.
But it might not be fertilised. You eat eggs. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh. It just looks wrong. I'm so sidetracked. What we were talking about
Eating
Pokemon.
delicious Pokemon.
So where have you gotten up to in Pokemon Shield?
I have taken on the third gym leader. I've made a charge to overtake yourself. Not by much, though. You had the challenge of beating the second gym this week. I believe you've beaten 3 as
And
well.
I said I wanted to get up to the third, and I beat the third, so I overtook my own challenge.
Very nice.
Woo!
What are the key members of your team in this Pokemon journey? Do you have a lot of new Pokemon or a sprinkling of generations?
It's a little bit of a sprinkling. I like to have, a Pokemon that can basically attack anything that has a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
So if something comes up, then I can switch to that one. So at the moment, I've got my Sobble, which is now a Drizzile.
Mm-hmm.
I have my Eevee, who I want to evolve into the fairy type evolution.
Yes.
Weirdly, because I don't have that evolution in Pokemon Go. I'm like, that's the one I haven't done yet.
It seems more elusive.
Yes. And it's interesting. There's certain like criteria to get them to evolve to different evolutions. So you have to have high friendship, and that's from interacting with them at the camp and stuff. So I think I've managed to get that up already. So I'm pretty happy with that. I have kept a few of the ones that I basically got at the very beginning. I'm blanking on the bird's name. Starts with a C. Corvisquire?
Mm-hmm.
He's been pretty solid.
Well, if he evolves again, he'll definitely be solid because he becomes steel.
And I recently got that turtle Pokemon that I remember from the anime that they always use to like cook stuff on. Like it's got these holes in its shell that lets like steam out of so that they cook stuff.
Yep. Shuckle.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm like, fun.
See, again, eating, cooking, drinking.
Well, see, that's
Pokemon
using
juice.
it as a utility, not actually eating it. Anyways, so I've managed to get through the wild area with much more leveled up wild Pokemon. I've caught a few, but I haven't necessarily gone out of my way to catch every single new thing on my path because I kind of want to get as many gym badges early and then maybe go back and catch stuff while I don't have then limitations on what levels of Pokemon I can catch.
Different strategies. I've been catching them all that I've seen, trying to get at least one of everything. But I don't mind catching a multiple because of the Pokemon jobs system in this one.
True.
Where you can send out different types of Pokemon, which in itself there's some kind of, labour laws that might have to be enforced in the Galar region.
It's a little strange.
We need bug Pokemon to test out our shoes because they have lots of legs. Sounds a bit slavish, doesn't it?
And I don't think they get paid. They just get experience
They
points.
give you the payment.
Oh.
So you got this whole... Oh, it gets very weird. I have been catching lots of new Pokemon, lots of old Pokemon. Most of the time I play a new Pokemon game, I try and form a team purely from that generation. And I have not done that this season. This I keep saying season, but it's because of the whole gym challenge. It's referred to as seasons and stuff. And plus, you need some good seasoning on your eating Pokemon.
Oh, dear.
No? I have decided to assemble an all-star team. A lot of my favourite from every generation that I come across, they're on the squad. I have Beware, which I fell in love with, based off the Sun and Moon anime in particular. Can I just say, Beware is an absolute powerhouse.
Yes.
And can take a heck of a whooping.
And also can do some serious damage.
I have a Pumpkaboo, because if that's not a cool Pokemon name, I don't know what is.
It's sounding very Team Rockety right now.
It is a little bit. I've also got a Corphish, who I adore. He's going to evolve into a Crawdaunt soon, which is a water and dark type.
Do you have that item you can put on them if you don't want them to evolve?
I do want him to evolve.
Oh,
because
okay.
I have a liking for dual-type Pokemon. I don't like them if they're just single types, personally.
But you love Corphish.
Exactly. I love him as a friend and a companion, but in battle I want him to be as strong as possible, and a dual-type evolution is much better in my eyes. I also, however, have kept one of the new Pokemon in my team, apart from my little Scorbunny, who's now evolved into a Raboot, and whatever he's going to become later on. I also have a little electric poison baby. So my little electric poison baby, Toxel, has now evolved into a full punk rocker, Toxtricity. And he's not as good as I hoped he would be. I have always had a soft spot for poison Pokemon, and they've always been useless until Fairy was a type.
How was your first battle against Marnie? She's like a character that reoccurs at some of the different gym challenges. She's one of the other, I guess, challenges in the competition.
Yeah, you have a few rivals that you constantly butt heads with throughout the game. You've got Hop, which is just, he's energetic and a bit of a
Kind
annoying...
of your friend growing up turned rival, I guess. Then you've got Beady.
Beady.
Beady with awful hair.
Looks like a golden girl.
Does. And he only uses psychic Pokemon, so it's pretty easy to have his number.
Yeah, that was his mistake.
Marnie. Oh my goodness.
She has a cheerleading squad of noisy people.
She's got 2 Pokemon that I wipe the floor with, but then this little electric/dark rodent.
Morpeko.
Was the biggest bane of my existence.
Yes, it's funny when you don't realise that your entire team collectively have 2 severe weaknesses until you face somebody who has a Pokemon with those 2 types and one-shot kill on your psychic Pokemon, and then one-shot kill on your water Pokemon, and then one-shot kill on this Pokemon, your flying Pokemon, and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't do anything against this. I'm in defeat. I did not have as much trouble as you did because, like I said, Beware is a badass and fighting types beat Dark, so she pretty much just went crack right in that little Pokemon's jaw.
It was just disturbing also seeing it flip from this cute little electric Pokemon to then the dark, like, emo, just freaky looking.
Yeah,
I'm like, what's
Morpeko
happened?
has an ability which flips it from a full-bellied mode to a hangry mode, and if you're not used to dealing with that, it can be a bit scary. I have a bit of experience in that field.
Thanks.
We like the full-bellied mode.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
I've been enjoying Pokemon Shield that we have been playing, and I have made it my primary portable game. I've been stealing it away off to work on my breaks, and I should have brought it the other day because a train I was supposed to run was cancelled, and I had hours of spare time I didn't expect to have, and I was furious that I didn't bring it with me, and I was sad, and I ended up just eating food and drinking coffee, so it wasn't that bad. But Pokemon Shield I'm enjoying, and not every Pokemon mainline game I have enjoyed to this degree. So it's in the top half of all of the games I've ever played in the Pokemon series.
Nice.
So it's getting a thumbs up so far. Won't make a full judgment until I'm done. But 3 gyms down, 5 to go.
Now, that's all I've really had the chance to play this week. I'm still playing Hakuoki at the moment. The visual novel, it's kind of a continuation. I think Edo Blossoms was the first one. So, oh no, Kyoto Wins. I'm getting them backwards. Strike that, reverse it. So, yeah, I'm still on that first run through at the moment. It's kind of been on pause a little bit while Pokemon's been stealing my attention. So you, though, have had a few other things on your plate.
Yes, I've tried to make The Outer Worlds by Obsidian Entertainment my primary game. I made a guess last week that maybe the end of the game was a bit closer than I thought. I was definitely wrong, because I still feel like I'm nowhere near it after playing it for another week. Now, I did have one misadventure in The Outer Worlds. You have different factions in these sort of games like Fallout, games like The Outer Worlds, where different factions and doing different quests with different results will mean some people like you more, some people like you less. I have been playing it Greedfall style, trying to keep everybody on my good side. It's kind of funny because I didn't enjoy that aspect of Greedfall, but I've been trying to walk that tightrope in The Outer Worlds. Now, I finished one quest that should not have caused so much of kicking the hornet's hive as it did, and suddenly an entire city was hostile towards me, and I don't know what I did to trigger it. That was at the start of the session that I was playing this morning.
Yep.
And I realised after Googling Byzantium hostile that a lot of people have done this exact thing and pinpointed it to the result of one quest. Different corporations in this game are the factions, and they can have a liking you meter and a not liking you meter at the same time. So you might have 80% like and a 40% dislike, depending on what you've done that has made them happy and made them upset. 2 separate bars for each faction. The board, which is like the overseeing corporation over the Halcyon system, I had them a bit negative from the results of some previous ones, and when I finished a particular quest in a certain way, it booted their dislike meter towards me up to the high 80s. and I don't think I could recover that. The problem is the next story mission is set in that city, and the only way I could get to my objective was to basically murder every guard I saw because they were shooting at me and my teammates. So I'm now in a pickle. I'm not one to reload saves when I play through a game for the first time. But I have to make a decision now whether my 1.5 hour playthrough, finishing off the last 2 companion quests that you saw me do this morning, do I erase all that from existence and go back a save, finish the quest that caused me trouble with a different result, and therefore have the city of Byzantium peaceful and not as hostile, so I can actually finish the rest of the side quests there and also lose my progress for an hour and a half? Or do I just suck it up, deal with the consequences, and say, stuff you, board. You deserve this. I'm now friendly with everyone in the galaxy, but I'm going to be hyper-aggressive towards the board. What should I do? Jem, please help me with this dilemma.
You have always told me, especially in canon playthroughs with RPGs, that you must live with the consequences of your choices.
Yeah.
And then when you go and replay it another time, then you can, pick and choose a little more and try to get different endings and make different choices.
I'm cool with that as long as the consequences line up with your actions. Imagine if you were doing a playthrough of Mass Effect and you decided to talk to a vendor and ask for a discount, and doing so meant Garrus left the party completely. Would you not reload that file? That's what it feels like I've done. I tried to do the noble thing instead of the mean thing. I had Parvati on the team. I can't be mean when she's around because she's so sweet and innocent, and I must protect her from the evilness in the world. The option I should have picked was to lie to someone and send them to their death, and everything's peaceful after that. Go figure. I don't know if it's an oversight in the coding. I have had nothing but praise for the Outer Worlds, but I'm slightly disgruntled after this session. So, not happy. I'm still enjoying the game. Still a very good game. Just today left a little sour taste in my mouth. Just like the taste of Spectrum vodka would from C&P. It's C&P. They all have their little jingles for the little corporations.
I know.
And everyone's trying to give you a sales pitch in this game, and I love it so much.
Is that all your gaming goals for this week?
Yes. Apart from me completely abandoning any form of mobile gaming on my phone because it seems to ebb and flow my interest in that, and I haven't played anything on my phone. Poor Egg Inc. Those eggs are probably rotten by now. My chickens are probably dead. That's pretty much it for me.
On that lovely note, we'll be back with our main topic of games that we have abandoned, much like his chicken coop, right after this. Share the love. Follow us on Twitter at Brendo Jem. That's BrendoJem. 2019 has been a year of pretty decent games, I would say.
Pretty decent. 2018 was among probably one of the best years release-wise that we've seen.
In a long time.
In years, some would say. But 2019 has been no slouch either. Ever since the release schedules have been more staggered throughout the year, as seems to be the case now, ever since January hit, we've had top quality games. And there doesn't seem to be any month of the year where you can catch your breath, play what you're currently playing without some other shiny little game dancing across your vision like sugar plum fairies in Christmas time. So this whole year, I've been buying games, playing games, loving games.
But not finishing games.
And occasionally, not finishing games. We do have commitment issues sometimes when it comes to video games. Yep. I don't know about yourself, but I can be quite bad with it. As much as I love to play a game to its completion, sometimes to my detriment if the game is not so good, sometimes I get stubborn and just have to see the credits roll. But then other times, I'm playing a game I really enjoy, and then another game goes, "Ooh, hello," and I'm like that meme with the guy looking at the other chick, and the woman's like, "Hey, what about me?" And that's like the game I was playing, and there's this, "Oh, look at this, look what just came out, Jim."
Every time.
Every time.
We're both guilty of it. And look, this list would be a lot longer if we were going about every single game we've ever abandoned in our entire life. I don't know if I want to go over that list. So we're just going to look at what we've done this year.
We have some unfinished business, some projects that are half completed. These are not the style of games that we're saying are going to be headlining our 4 in Feb backlog busting challenge, for example, which is primarily games that we've bought but never touched. They're just sitting gathering dust. Why did we buy them? We don't know. We can't help it. We have problems
We
sometimes.
want to play them eventually.
These are the games that we have played, we have enjoyed, and we don't really know why we stopped. And perhaps you and I should set the challenge that this December, it's not a 4 in Feb, it's not a 4 in December, but it's a December to remember the games that we forgot. How does that sound? That was pretty good off the top of my head.
All right. I can think of one off the top of my head that we have both neglected, that we dropped like a hot potato, that is actually coming out in board game form.
Oh.
Divinity Original Sin. Poor Divinity.
It is. I thought this would be easier to do, this episode. Divinity was a game I loved so much. I enjoyed playing a cooperative RPG with you, my dear wife, my gaming lover, and yet we got to what we thought was near the end of the game and somebody said, no, you can't continue this main quest line until you do more side quests. And we were at a natural spot where we wanted to finish the game. And that was denied us, so we never played it again. After we struggled through that stupid last dungeon as well, I think that was the last straw. That guy who said no, the door that said no, you cannot pass this. Now, we had a lot of fun playing Divinity. We played multiple hour sessions regularly. Big game. We told stories on this podcast how much we enjoyed it, but it was just dropped due to utter frustration at one little factor. We can be fickle beasts, can't we?
Very fickle beasts.
So part of the reason I wanted to do this episode was simply to analyse why we stopped playing games. Divinity, frustration at one factor following one badly designed dungeon. Doesn't take much. Probably my biggest shame in this, especially when it comes to, I'm not going to say lesser gamers, but maybe gaming likers instead of gaming lovers, with the good brother, Mr. Steve. His wife, the wonderful Mel. She doesn't have a name, but that'll do. She can be the wonderful Mel.
Okay.
The two of them consume Overcooked more than people eat Pokemon. And if we've learnt one thing in this episode, that is a lot. Overcooked 2 did come out. Everyone was excited for it. They have played and gotten every trophy that could possibly be created in that game.
All the 4 stars as well with the DLC.
Every challenge that comes their way, they beat. Every high score, they topple. We started it twice. And I have to admit, it was my fault that we never got any further than that.
I think after, was it episode 3 of this podcast, when games feel like work, you got too burnt out on the original Overcooked game because we were challenged to beat their score on a particularly difficult level, and we did it.
Mind you, that was 80 weeks ago. I still don't...
But you still have that bad taste in your mouth to the point now, like, it's not something, like, if I want to play Overcooked, you do not.
Yeah. I have to admit, this is nothing but praise for you. You have been very gracious, very merciful, as far as not making me feel too bad that we have not collectively beaten Overcooked 2. Now, I'm going to give you 30 seconds of no limits. I want you to tell me your true feelings on how I have let you down. Okay? Overcooked 2. Brew that stew of anger and hatred, and you just get 30 seconds to pour it on me. I may regret this. Okay, your time will start now.
Look, I don't need 30 seconds because I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Not that old one. Okay, maybe we should move on. Now, when it comes to the guilt level you feel about abandoning a game, sometimes it's proportional to how good the game is. If the game's really good and you just don't want to play it, it sort of makes you feel a bit bad.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's based off a game's length. If a game's only an hour or two long and you can't even make it through that, what does that say about your stamina
Or
and
attention.
your tenacity? But when a game is fairly expensive for what it is and you buy it because you're such a fan of the series on day one and then you don't actually commit to playing it properly, like you and I may have done with the Persona dancing games that came out at the tail end of last year.
Yeah.
But they were basically a 2019 commitment
Yes.
that was quickly dropped.
Well,
By me in particular.
I played it a little bit more than you. I think I actually struggled playing it on a console over having it on the Vita. The original dancing game, Dancing All Night, for the Persona 4 series was on the Vita, and playing a rhythm game on that had no problem. I got really used to it.
Smaller screen, all the details are in front of you in a small couple of inches across screen.
Easier to kind of absorb, but on our big screen,
We have a big TV.
trying to keep track of all the moving pieces, it took a lot longer to get into the groove, and then if you put it down for a little while, you'd have to kind of start back up again and relearn everything. There is a bit of a learning curve when it comes to rhythm games.
I didn't actually put that together because I feel like it just wasn't the same, and that is obviously why. Playing the first one on a handheld, loving it so much, then Persona 3 and 5 get their entries, and we can only play it on the TV.
And you can't do the remote play with a rhythm game because that requires very precise reaction times, because there is, obviously a little bit of delay when it goes to your Vita. So
even if the connection is stable, it still has very slight lag, but that can be the difference between a good and a great.
Yes.
In a game like this, or a good and a fail.
Yes. And when you're playing it on the more harder difficulties, they are ruthless. So I definitely enjoyed and got through most of the story for both games, but didn't clear them, didn't finish them, didn't get the platinum like I did with obviously the Vita version. So, but that said, it is something that I would happily pick back up again. You know, it's a fun game to play in short bursts.
I have to say, it's a pretty weak excuse. The TV's too big. Why don't you just get the controller and just play from the hallway or down the kitchen or something like that? So, mate, the TV, no, it probably wouldn't work at all. Different reasons for why we abandon games. This is nice. Let's just make you feel bad this time. Pokemon Shield is being enjoyed right now. And you were having an absolute blast with little Airvoy, your pet Eevee, in Pokemon Let's Go Eevee.
Yes.
But you didn't beat that game.
No.
And you got actually fairly far into that as well.
Yeah.
I know you made it to at least Fuchsia City.
Yep.
You made it to the Seafoam Islands, but then you stopped. You had 2 gyms left. 2! If you've made it that far in your Pokemon journey, you must continue.
I honestly can't remember why I stopped. Something must have distracted me, a different game, I imagine. When in the year did we get that?
It would have been late last year that it launched, so it would have been a very early 2019 play.
Yeah, maybe 4 in Feb distracted me. Or maybe our trip overseas did. I don't know. I'm sorry, Evoy.
Oh. When's the last time you fed poor Evoy?
It's a digital thing, so it's okay.
Technically, he's now in Pokemon Shield because he got transferred across.
Yes,
by the magic of Pokemon. Now, you pointing the finger at 4 in Feb. I think that is why I stopped playing a game that I really enjoyed too. Yakuza 0, a series that I was steamrolling through.
You got a little burnt out though too.
I did.
You were playing a lot of them one after the other.
Yes. I had recently played 3, 4, 5, relatively close together. and then went to play Yakuza 0, and I was doing as many side quests as I could because I love them all. You get to meet all the weirdest and wackiest characters in Yakuza by doing the side quests. There's a guy walking around in his underwear. There's a Michael Jackson ripoff. You never know what you're going to find. And then I needed a break, and I never went back. And yes, I think it's because I was a little burnt out from the series.
Mm-hmm.
Playing some games in a series back-to-back can be the most enjoyable thing ever.
Yep.
Especially if the story directly flows in or the gameplay is very similar, but it just feels like a bigger, better version of what you've just enjoyed.
Mm.
But sometimes you do it too much with games that are too long, and I was trying to do a great deal of side quests in these Yakuza games.
Yeah.
You can get series fatigue. It's happened to me before with Assassin's Creed. I took a break from that when Unity came out. Which is about 8 games ago. But it's very possible. So, Yakuza 0, however, as soon as I'm done with the Outer Wild... darn it! I said it! I've been so good at not saying the Outer Wilds when I'm meaning to say the Outer Worlds. When I'm finished with the Outer Worlds, I'm probably going to go and try and finish Yakuza 0 and then Yakuza 6.
Okay.
That's sort of what I want to do. It's where my heart is leading me right now.
Now, one game that I finished, but that you haven't finished this year.
Oh, no.
I'm going to throw you under the bus now.
Oh, no.
Greedfall.
Greedfall?
Mm-hmm.
I loved Greedfall.
And also hated it.
It's kind of weird because you and I have such similar tastes in games that usually there's certain games I play and I'm like, oh, Jem's going to love this when she gives it a spin. And then there's certain games that we should have similar interests in, like Greedfall, and it just did not click with me anywhere near as much as it did with you.
Yeah.
You stampeded through Greedfall. Lady Nat stampeded through Greedfall. My good buddy, the Falcon platinumed Greedfall before I'd even really started it.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I'm sitting there with everyone talking about Greedfall, everyone getting angry at me, putting the pressure on me. Hurry up and beat Greedfall so I can talk to you about it. Hurry up and talk about Greedfall so we can mention spoilers in conversation. I don't have to worry about you, Brendo. And I'm sitting there going, I've got better things that I want to play more than Greedfall. And I feel bad that I haven't enjoyed it as much as you have.
But you didn't get to the good part of the story. That, for me, is what I'm like, oh, it's like when people give up on Mass Effect, the very first game, because they think the Citadel is super slow.
Yep.
You know, they're like, oh, this game is boring, it's slow. Why does everyone think it's so good? And they never get any further.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, you're a moron. Keep playing.
Same with Final Fantasy 13, when they don't even invest the 50 hours it takes for that game to get good. I mean, it's a shame, really. They could just keep on chugging through. Yeah.
But Greedfall does, like, it's interesting, but the real intrigue starts to build at a certain point, and all those little things early in the story start to click and make more sense. You know, it's not the most groundbreaking of all stories ever, or definitely not as far as combat and gaming style, but I stand by it when I said that it's worth playthrough if you love RPGs.
Yep.
It's solid.
I mainly like to play games for good stories and characters, and I will usually fight my way through, like with Alpha Protocol that I played a few years ago.
You've played that, but you didn't finish Greedfall.
Well, I spent a whole $3 on Alpha Protocol. I can't waste that money. On record, on episode 84 of the Gaming Lovers podcast, if I put the screws to you right now and say, by the time the credits roll on Greedfall, will I say that was worth my time?
I'd say so.
Okay. Screw Yakuza 0, Greedfall, up next. Well, no, maybe, I don't know.
Look, Yakuza is also an incredible series, so I'm never going to tell you to not play that. That said, I still believe that Greedfall's got a good enough story and intrigue for you to give it another shot.
Should I skim on the side quests?
Not on the companion quests.
No, of course not.
But I enjoyed even a little side quests I found still help build the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your prerogative.
That's my prerogative. Okay, well, We'll see how I go. But a slow start can be another reason why people abandon games.
Totally.
There's lots of these reasons.
Some people are far more ruthless and less forgiving, I think, than we can be about the starts of video games.
Yep. There's also one other reason why people don't really stick with a video game. That's because they didn't even want it in the first place. Like what happened when I bought you an impulsive fighting game for the My Hero Academia anime series.
Mm-hmm.
My Hero Wants Justice. A game I just bought because I was sad. Because our little pet ferret had just taken into surgery. And I needed something to boost my mood. And what boosts your mood more than impulsively looking for a game to buy?
Well, for you anyway.
I don't blame you on this one because this was just me just saying, here, play this, do it, play
I've still played more of it than you have. If you're
It's
going,
becoming a competition.
if you're going to keep making me look like the bad guy here, I've actually played through story mode. You've only ever played arcade with me.
Yeah, and I lost almost every single round, so you can see why I didn't want to go
Well,
back
if
to
you'd
it.
played the story mode, you'd get better at playing the characters, and then you could whoop my butt.
What if I did beat you every round then?
You'd
Then
be
you
very
wouldn't
smug.
enjoy it. I was doing it out of my love for you. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy playing through the story mode in fighting games to an extent. I can't play them for very long stints. Like, I kind of get sick of them after a while. It's very different to other kind of video games. Like, I can play for maybe 20 minutes and then I'm like, okay, I need to play something else.
Yep.
I can't sit down and play them for like hours upon hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I struggle with longevity with these, and that's why I get through games like RPGs a lot more because I can play them for hours and not feel like I'm getting bored mid-game so much.
Yeah.
So that's probably was my biggest thing. I mean, I love it. It was a fun fighting game. I enjoyed doing the combat with you, and I enjoyed kind of reliving and replaying, I guess, scenes lifted from the anime.
And a couple of what ifs.
Yeah.
But when you have something that you can only play for shorter bursts, you're obviously going to make it through the game at a slower pace. Time, like calendar-wise.
Yeah.
Throughout a week, throughout a month, throughout a year.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, you probably wouldn't get through an entire game, whereas something you can sit down and just lose yourself in, you can get through a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. Another reason. Look at this. The only other thing I have to bring up is your habit with visual novels.
Uh-oh.
Especially on the PS Vita. You love your PS Vita. You love visual novels. You love visual novels on the PS Vita.
Yep.
I hear you start these things and then what are you playing now? Oh, I'm playing this visual novel. What happened to the other one? Oh, I'm playing this visual novel now. What happened to the second one and the first one? What happens there? I legitimately don't know the answer to this question. This isn't a setup. I'm just curious.
It's a habit that's only really intensified this year because I have several brand new visual novels from America that are still kind of in their wrappings, and I want to play them all.
She's spoiled for choice.
It's pretty much that's probably my problem. I'm like, oh, I really want to play that. It looks so good, and it's.
The dangers of a backlog.
It's such a bad habit, but I played Code Realize Future Blessings, and I got through like one of the stories, so I kind of felt like, look, I've played that, and I didn't do all the other different branches, and I guess to me that is then finishing the game. So, I kind of justified in saying that, this one thread that's enough. I can move on to the next one without guilt because I really wanted to play Hakuoki.
Well, I've fallen for this too. I have a stack of games on my backlog, and sometimes you're partway through something and you're like, no, you know what? I'm just going to try out this other game just for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. I just want to see how it plays. I don't know what sort of gameplay it is. I don't know how the controls are. And then suddenly that's your new primary game, and poor old whatever it was is now abandoned to the Forgotten Isles.
Mm-hmm.
So we've all been there, I'm sure. I'm just going to try this other game.
Once I finish this one, though, then I can go back to it and finish it and use a guide and speedrun it, though, too. It's one of the benefits of visual novels of, like, once you've done that canon playthrough and you just want to get those other endings, you can kind of cheat a little bit.
Yeah, well, I like enjoying the alternate pathways in those sort of games.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's not really completed with a visual novel like that unless you've basically platinumed the game
You
and
need to get
seen
the
everything there
true
is to see.
ending, usually. Sometimes they lock those once you have to get through all the open, I guess, branches, and then they'll let you get that final one. So, yeah.
We have some unfinished business from 2019.
Yes.
Now, we've played some good games this year. Don't get me wrong. It's not all bad news.
Mm-hmm.
We will be probably having our Smoochie Awards for the second year running towards the end of the year.
Yep.
Speaking about all our favourite characters from games this year, via soundtracks, whatever we've done, everything we've enjoyed from the games we've played. We've also, as we've just rattled off, there's been a few games that we didn't quite get through. And what makes it so darn frustrating is that there are still so many games that came out this year that we haven't touched, that we want to.
Yes. And we'll be back with those right after this.
You're listening to the Gaming Lovers Podcast. Want to join the conversation? Visit thegaminglovers.com. Record your comment or question by clicking on the button on the right-hand side. And you could be featured in the next podcast.
It's bad enough that I've abandoned so many games already this year, but I'm close to doing it again because there's other games I really want to play.
Oh, no. I thought this would help you, not hinder you further.
I have been itching to play Jedi Fallen Order. I'm waiting for Lady Nat to finish it so we can borrow it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on my list. I really want to play The Outer Worlds. I keep seeing you play it, and I'm like, you know what? If I start that, I will not finish Pokemon Shield. It's very much on the verge of it being added to the list of Pokemon games that have been started and never finished by Jem.
You have to finish at least one, please. I can't be married to a non-champion. But I have had something similar with you this year in that we sort of split on our separate paths mid-year. And you were playing so much Fire Emblem Three Houses. I've never even started it, but it looks good,
It's
and I
so
want
good.
to. Nobody walks into a library going, "I want to read every book that's in here," and yet that's how I feel with video games. I have enjoyed so many video games. I enjoy replaying some older video games. Mm-hmm. There's some that I've got a few chapters in and then left, but there's so many that I want to play or read, using this analogy.
Yep.
That I haven't yet to touch. And there's just not enough hours in the day. There's not enough days in the week. There's not enough life in Brendo to get through everything that I want to get through. And I don't want to be going through my life feeling not content with what I am enjoying and focusing on the what if. Oh, what if I got to play that? What if I got to play this one instead?
Well, it could change our smoochies drastically.
Mm-hmm.
Another game that has been on my list for a long time, and I don't know why it's managed to elude us so far, Control. We talked about it before it came out. We're like, yes, this looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, we never got it. So that's on my list of,
I want to play Death Stranding, obviously, with my love of Kojima and his whole directing of video games. The Borderlands series, speaking of abandoned projects, we got partway through a co-op run of Borderlands 2.
I don't know why that got dropped.
And not only is there Borderlands 3 that just came out, there's also the pre-sequel, which is like another game that we haven't even played in this series.
Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh, stop it, Jim, stop it.
Luigi's Mansion 3.
Oh, see, sequels. That's the problem with this industry. Too many good sequels. There are a lot of games that we are still yet to play.
Things that can be on our Christmas list maybe for this year. Some we actually own already.
See, Christmas lists used to be the most dangerous thing for my backlog. Because there have been years where I've been saturated with games.
Yes.
I want these 3 games. Okay, here's 8. No, hang on. Not all at once. And then by the time my birthday rolls around 4 months later, I haven't got through half of these games. And here comes another wave. Oh, I'm drowning.
Oh, what a terrible problem to have.
It can be. It's bad for my guilt.
First world problems right there.
If I ask for one game for Christmas, what should it be?
Maybe Death Stranding.
Maybe this is it.
It's easily one of the top games of this year. I mean, the reviews are mixed I think it's an acquired taste, but I think it is a taste that you will like because you love Hideo Kojima's work to date so far. So I think for you, I think it's important that you get to play it this year because I imagine it will be one of your top games.
Oh, gosh.
No pressure.
No pressure. Just jam out that 80-plus hour game in the last 6 days of the year. Go for it.
Go simulate being a delivery boy.
Well, look, let's not get too focused on the what-ifs. Let's not get too focused on our regrets. Let's talk gaming goals for the coming week.
Well, it kind of ties in.
Let's make some progress on the games we are playing so that they are not added to this
abandoned
pile of corpses that we've left in our wake.
Aww. Half-eaten corpses.
Not even fully consumed.
You're like zombies who get distracted. Oh, a fresh human.
What a waste. Oh, dear. That analogy was disturbing, but amusing and accurate. So, Pokemon Shield. The big question, Jem. Have you ever beaten a mainline Pokemon game?
No.
Ever?
Because my very first one, Pokemon Yellow. This story's been told so many times on this podcast. But I hadn't finished it, but I lent it to a friend and I never got it back.
Oh, no.
And ever since then, I've never finised a Pokemon game.
There's a deep-seated trauma right there that we're trying to deal with.
Someone's going to steal it away from me. No. I don't know. I honestly thought my best shot of finishing one would have been Let's Go Eevee. I came close to finishing it.
The closest I've ever seen you.
I don't know why I dropped. I honestly can't. I don't know. So maybe you need to help cheer me on and motivate me to keep working at Shield so I can finish it.
Okay.
What qualifies as finishing it?
Just become champion.
Okay.
Beat all the gyms. There's probably going to be an Elite Four, and then there'll be a champion. It's usually the way it goes.
Okay.
It's 4 consecutive battles, and then you fight the champ. Now, would it help if I dressed up as Team Yell, followed you around everywhere you go?
With a Vuvuzela?
Yell through Vuvuzelas. We've got one. I can do it. Would that help cheer you on, or would you just want to, strangle me?
I would probably hit you over the head with the Vuvuzela. But you can help motivate me, just encourage me to play.
Double gaming time. Think of how wonderful our double gaming time is when we're both playing separate games next to each other. It can happen.
And you can give me tips because you are like a Pokemon encyclopedia. When I keep blanking, I'm like, what is this Pokemon's weakness? And you're like, it is this and this and this. So keep doing that.
Point me at it. I'm just a Pokedex. Bing!
Okay, Rotom.
2 more points. Do we need to put an incentive on you to beat Pokemon Shield?
Oh, a reward?
A reward? Maybe you're not, depending on how you view it, it could be a reward or it could be a consequence.
Uh-oh.
Maybe you can't play Jedi Fallen Order until you beat Pokemon Shield. Even if Lady Nat's finished with it.
That seems fair. Well, I've been doing that with the Outer Worlds. I've had plenty of opportunity to start it when you're at work. Especially when you take Pokemon with you to work.
Yeah, sorry. Well, Pokemon Shield, your primary target. Is there anything on the to-do list that we have mentioned this podcast that we've abandoned that you would like to beat by the end of the year? No pressure for this week, but maybe later in December. Any loose ends you would like to rethread back into the tapestry?
Overcooked 2?
Oh, not Overcooked 2. No, that's fine. I just wanted to know where you were at because Overcooked 2 is probably what I was going to pick as well. Either that or Divinity.
Then Mel and Steve will stop mocking us.
Yeah. But then they're going to challenge us to fight them and we can't take them on.
No, because by that point, Overcooked 3 will be out.
They're too powerful.
They'll be onto that one.
Okay, I'll do the same. I'm going to stay as singular-minded as I can on 2 games because that's how I roll. The Outer Worlds will not be abandoned. I don't see myself abandoning that, even after the disastrous session I had today. And Pokemon Shield, I will beat, but if Jem needs the priority run on that, I'm happy to cool my jets on the Switch. So there you go. I will stop stealing the Switch for work, and you can have more hours to play by yourself. How does that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
And then we really do need to finish Overcooked 2 and Divinity Original Sin and Greedfall and Yakuza 0 all before Christmas. Oh my gosh, it's too much pressure. Oh my gosh, it's too much. I love video games.
I think that's all for us this week.
Oh,
We've got some work to do. So
Chowski.
until next time, sayonara.
I love games.
Thanks for listening to the Gaming Lovers Podcast. For more episodes or to watch some live stream gaming, visit thegaminglovers.com.